Hello and welcome. This video is going to be a what sold video. I'm going to share with you everything that sold for the first week in November, so that's November 1st through to November 7th on all of my not live platforms, because to be honest, these videos would become unwieldy if I tried to share with you guys each individual sale I made on whatnot. So we're not doing that, but I will share with you my Etsy and eBay sales and everything that I sold on those platforms, because those are the two platforms I made sales on for this week. Let's get over here. And I'm going to share with you my only Etsy sale. Etsy almost always wakes up for me in the second half of the year, and this year is no different. So I sold this vintage 80s, it's like an abstract chevron design. It was like a knit sweater, but it was a colored knit sweater. It was actually very cute, very warm, and it fit me. You can see I'm modeling it here. This is actually like, the middle photo is actually a video of me showing it off, because I had originally put this on Whatnot for $1 and nobody wanted it, and I sold it for $20 on Etsy. So I also really like selling vintage, and I don't mind waiting for the buyer, so I can see that not everybody likes buying and reselling vintage, so whatever. I sold it for $20 and the buyer pays on Etsy, well, at least for me, the buyer pays on Etsy for shipping if they don't spend $35. If they do spend $35, then shipping is free. So this person paid for shipping and taxes and all that stuff, and Etsy fees I think are like 6.5%, and then there's like a transaction fee. It's roughly around 10%, so I actually really like it when I get sales on Etsy, because the fees are much lower than eBay. I'm going to switch over here, speaking of, and we're going to go over my eBay sales. So the first sale I have to share with you, wow, I am so pale. Give me a second. Let me fix my light. I am too reflective right now. That's much better. Just turn all the lights off and only use natural light, because it is definitely winter and I am definitely pale due to the fact that I don't get to see the sun outside because it's too cold. Alright, so the first sale I have to share with you is this Gildan Keith Urban concert t-shirt. This is not vintage, it's from 2011. I picked this up for less than $1 at an estate sale, and I sold it for $7.90. I sent off a 20% offer to all of my watchers, and somebody snapped it up and they had to pay for shipping. I'd had that for a while, so I was very happy. And again, my cost of goods was really low, so awesome. This is a pair of Piccolinos that I found when I went to the bins in Richmond with Brett, and I paid $3.50 for these shoes at the bins, and they sold for $25 on an offer. This was a great sale. That's actually the most shoes I found at the bins at any one time, and it was all brands that most people wouldn't know to pick up. It was like a bunch of European brands, so this was actually really nice. And Brett, if you're watching this, thank you again for meeting me at the bins. It was fun. This next sale is a book sale. These are all manga graphic novels. They're like kids graphic novels that I found at a bins for 25 cents each. I made a video recently about what I do to be successful selling books on eBay. This clicks off two of those. Both the manga and also the a lot category. So I paid basically $1 for these 4 books, and I sold them for $12, and the buyer paid for shipping. So this is really great. I love doing this. I will do this all the day long. I do this all day long. I love picking up books and keeping them out of the landfill and then giving them a new home. Mostly just because I like books. This is something I paid like $6 for at a Goodwill. I've sold these 3 times. This is the first time someone actually paid for them. But I just went ahead and took an offer to get them out of my house. I still made some money on them, and I no longer have them. I will not buy these again. They were cute in the store, which is what got me, and when I originally looked at comps, they were doing well, but apparently I did not have the style that people were looking for. But it sold for $11, and the buyer paid for shipping, and I don't have them anymore. And I learned a lesson, and that's more valuable. Again, another thing I found for 25 cents at the bins. These are the last of the dot journals, bullet journals, whatever you want to call them. I found a nice thick stack of like 12 of these at the bins for like $0.25 a piece, because they were soft covers and they were all brand new. And no one had picked them up. It was in a bin that had been like gone through. So I did. So I basically have 50 cents into these bullet journals. And by the way, journaling gets really big come the new year, because that's when everybody's like, I'm gonna do a daily journal, or I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to keep a food journal. this is the time of year to list that stuff, just so you know. And then people also give them for gifts as well. But yeah, so for 50 cents buy cost at the bins, sold them for $19.74, and I don't have any more of those. They all sold out within like 2 months, and I had like a thick stack of them, so that was awesome. I wish I could find more stuff like that at the bins. This is a 90s Saks Avenue knit top. Knitwear, both for men and for women, is really in right now because it was in the 90s, and the 90s are still a thing, even though it's been 30 years. But someone bought this for $12. I actually picked this up at the bins, so I paid less than $1 for this, so that was really nice. This is a vintage silk long sleeve button front. I actually had a buyer buy this and then buy another vintage piece from me like a little bit later on in the week. I do actually get repeat buyers on eBay that are not necessarily viewers of the channel because I do sell a lot of vintage. So this person bought this piece for $16. I paid less than $1 for this at the big vintage estate sale haul, and technically this is free now because of the fact that I got all of the money back for this giant haul that is, I still have like half of it sitting behind this camera. So it's free, so this is basically all profit for me. Also, I picked this up at an estate sale, but at a different estate sale, so I paid $3 for this purse. This is a vintage, like, late 50s, early 60s air step. Absolutely pinnacle 50s, 60s style. This was an amazing shape. The patent leather, like, it looked like it had never been used. It still had the original mirror inside of it. Amazing shape. Sold for $20. I only paid for $3, and then they paid, like, $12 for shipping because it was a very heavy purse. All right, this next sale I have to thank a viewer, Leah. Thank you. This was amazing. This is an amazing bundle. She is a viewer of the channel and she bought all of this from me. I think she sent me an offer for everything and then asked me if I could combine shipping, which of course I did. And she actually waited for me to get the invoice to her, so I didn't have to do any refunds. It was just the flat shipping cost. And she's already told me, so I left me feedback, and I'm really glad that you like everything. So she bought a bunch of vintage stuff. So this vintage 70s Italian handbag, which I actually got at the big vintage sale, so technically this is free to me because I already made my money back on Whatnot. This early winters piece, which is actually something I picked up at the Air Force retiree's house. It was one of the few pieces from his late wife. And so I paid less than $1 for that. And then the Oxford wear I paid $6 for. And I just like picking up these like round disc pictures. This picture was not complete. It normally has a colored stopper that is rubber. And this was missing that, but it's so cute. And then she also picked up this Made in the USA Pacific Legends shirt, and she paid $63.60 for everything, and then also paid me $18.50 for shipping. And I did use all of that $18.50 for shipping because this was a hefty bucks. But Leah, thank you very much for buying from me, and I really do hope that you love everything. This next item, again, is something I found at the bins, and as in that book video, I said occult or psychedelic or sometimes sexy time things can sell really well on eBay, and that is what happened here. So this is a 1963 copy of Kama Sutra, which is not just about sexy times, it's also like a philosophy and a meditation practice. So that's more of what this was. It didn't have any interesting pictures in it. It just was basically how to do like tantric lovemaking and that kind of stuff. So it sold for $4.87, and the buyer and I paid like 50 cents for shipping. Or no, I'm flustered now. The buyer paid $4.87. I only paid 50 cents for this at the bins, and then they also paid for shipping. It's like, I don't really talk about that kind of stuff on my channel, so yeah. But I'll buy it and I'll sell it. That's for sure. Something else I picked up at the bins. This is a Ralph Lauren polo. It was in really good shape. It was heathered, just a basic. It's a good basic, and because it's a good basic, I'm not expecting to get a whole lot from it. So I sold it for $7.20, $7.90, and the buyer paid for shipping. And again, I picked up the bins, so I paid less than $1 for it. I paid $1 for these at another estate sale, and they sold for $4.87, and the buyer paid for shipping. I just packed them up in a little box, and they still shipped first class because this was a these were all like vintage plastic coaster. As I mentioned before, the same person that bought that silk vintage piece, that pink silk vintage piece, actually picked up this Evan Picone piece that is from the same estate sale. So this person has a similar style to the person that I bought all those clothes from. And again, this is basically free to me now because I paid myself back for this, and it sold for $15.90. So I hope they love both pieces, and I'm really proud of the fact that I am able to have repeat customers on eBay that are not necessarily viewers of the channel, because that feels like I'm providing value, and then also that my customer service and like I feel like I have a trustworthy business. It just makes me feel happy. So I'm really glad that this person bought from me again, and hopefully they will continue to buy from me. This is a hat I got at a estate sale, lots of estate sale stuff. And it sold for $14.87. I paid $2 for this at an estate sale. I picked up like a giant thing of hats, and they charged me between $1 and $2 depending on what the hat was. So I love selling hats. You can't break them. Well, that's not true. You rarely can break them, and they don't take that much space. They're super easy to ship, and they're super easy to store. So this was free to me. This is from friend Carolyn and Ernie. When Carolyn was cleaning out her closet, she donated it all to me, and I got to list it all, and it was awesome. And I'm really, really happy. And it was such a windfall. And this sold for $9. It's Express. It's a mall brand. I really liked this piece. It just unfortunately did not fit me because I'm a tall lady. So these, if I twirled too fast, my butt showed. So this was not something I could keep. But it sold for $9, and the buyer paid for shipping, and it was 100% profit. So thank you again, Carolyn. I don't remember where I got this. I think I got this when I was in California, but I'm not 100% sure. I just went ahead and took an offer of $10, and the buyer paid for shipping. So I made some profit, and I moved this really quickly. So I'm okay with that. Another vintage piece. This is a JCPenney piece from the 70s. The 70s normally have these like long collars, so it's really easy to tell. They also will normally have their buttons on the front end before you would think they would end. So like a modern button front, I'm gonna stand up and kind of demonstrate this. So a modern button front usually would have the button starting here at the collar and then go below the navel about to where most people's hips would start. So they go right about to here because people are tucking them into their pants. So the buttons go until about to the point where you're gonna tuck it in. So it's normally this long. Well, if it's a 70s piece, the buttons will actually normally stop right around the navel, or a little bit higher, like right around in this area, because of the fact that people's pants were high-waisted and they would be up to here. Have you ever seen like shows when you see an older individual and they've got their like pants all the way up to their tatas if it's a lady, or their pants like all the way up here? It's because that's kind of where the pants were when they were young. So that's why they normally end up having it right there. Just in case you wanted to know why that exists, or ways to tell if something's from the 70s or not. That's a way to tell. And that was more information than you needed to know for this $15.90 sale. But I was really happy to pick this up, and really happy that it sold so quickly. More books. I get so excited when I find these choose your own adventure books. These did get reprinted, so I actually only pick up the truly vintage ones from the 70s and the 80s, which is what these are. Paid 50 cents for, well, I paid 25 cents each for these books, so a total of 50 cents. And they sold for my asking price of $7.87, and the buyer paid for shipping. I like to pick up greeting cards when I am at the thrift store if it's a brand new sealed package, and then I also like to pick them up at estate sales. One, because I use them. I send out them as thank you cards for my Whatnot shows. I also send them out like whenever, I try to remember to send them out whenever one of y'all buys something for me. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I can get like so stressed out about just making sure I get shipping done that I forget. So I'm sorry if you didn't get a card or a thank you in your package, but it's a cheap, easy way to get them. I paid $1 for this. It sold for $4. It took 2 years to sell. So I thought that this would sell better. It didn't, but it did eventually sell. And my buy cost was cheap, so save something from the trash. That's what I gotta tell myself. I saved something from the trash. So I've also made videos on this channel about mugs that are worth reselling. I will link one of those videos up there because I made 2 of those actually. I picked this up because it was cute and because it looked like an Anthropologie mug. It is not an Anthropologie mug, but it had the look of an Anthropologie mug. Like, an Anthropologie girly is gonna want this. So I picked it up, and an Anthropologie girly, I'm assuming, picked it up as well. And they paid my full asking price of $12.87, and the buyer paid for shipping. Elephants, people that really like elephants, like really like elephants. And so if I find a really nice mug that has elephants on it, I'm gonna buy it. So I'm glad that this sold. I'm glad that I saved another mug from getting smashed and trashed, and I'm glad for that sale because it was a really good sale. I paid like $2 for that mug. Actually, no, I paid $1 for that mug. So that was awesome. This piece was 100% free to me because I am a Twitch partner. I had this in a video when I was doing a listing, when I was just listing stuff, and I was like, I don't wear this because it's too big for me, and it's made out of polyester. And while I love being a Twitch partner, and I really wish this was in my size, I'm going to have it move on to a new home. And it did. It sold for $45, and the buyer paid $5.50 for shipping. If you find Twitch stuff and it says partner anywhere on it, I would recommend picking that up. Unless it's somebody's merch, and then you have to check who it is. If it's somebody's merch, then maybe check out if they're a popular streamer first. But if it is a Twitch branded Twitch partner piece, those are definitely bolos. So sold it for $45 within like a week of me listing it. So this was amazing. This is something I held on for a very long time. This I picked up from the Air Force retirees house, so I have less than $1 into it, and it sold finally for $7, and the buyer paid for shipping. I just picked it up again because I was picking up anything that had any type of brand name or was new with tags or any type of like recognizable logo, because I was getting everything for so cheap. So again, less than $1, got positive feedback, made money off of it. This is a Faraday shirt. I have only found Faraday in the wild this one time so far, but it is a Bolo brand. It does normally sell very quickly, and it sold for $17, so it was sold on offer. They sent me an offer, and the buyer paid $5 for shipping. So this was great. I paid, I think, like $5 for this shirt. Actually, I paid $5 for this shirt recently because I would think I found this at the Goodwill by the boys' house. And the last piece is another Columbia piece I picked up at the Air Force retirees house. So I have less than $1 into this, and it sold for $8. So I'm still making money off of that estate sale, like a year and a half, almost 2 years later. It's a great sale. That's why, you know, estate sales are amazing for me. I love sourcing at estate sales for the specific reason, just because of the fact I have had such amazing luck doing it. But this is everything that has sold for me besides my whatnot sales, and I hope this gives you both a depth and a breadth of what you can sell on eBay if you want to, or do the work for it, and you know, what you can maybe sell on Etsy. I am one of those resellers that will literally sell most things. I don't really pick up electronics, or large electronics especially, or like car parts, because I'm not interested in that. I will pick up the car manuals though and sell those. I actually picked one of those up recently and listed it. So I pick up a wide variety of stuff to resell. You might not want to do that. You might want to niche down. There are plenty of people that make lots of money by niching down into a certain category of thing that they like to sell. And there are also plenty of people that decide that they don't want to sell stuff for $4. They only want to do like the high value stuff. Again, I've always say you do you, do what's best for you and your business. This is just what works for me, and what actually keeps me listing, because it's stuff that I'd like to buy and resell and like to list. So consider that too. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye. Bye.